discussions. I think they were, I think they were actually very good discussions, and it's unfortunate because of the distractions of what had happened. I think Sibab al-Muslim Fusuq, Qital al-Kufr. I think we completed that.
We're still in Kitab al-Iman, right?
We're still in Kitab al-Iman, yeah. لا ترجعوا بعد كفار يضرب عن بعضكم رقاب بعض. We did that, right?
I'm opening my yes.
Okay.
No. That is where we're going to start.
That's where, okay, that's where,
Yeah,
yeah, okay, okay.
What's the number?
Mashi.
It's going to be, I don't know, 32 for Mike, 32.
خلاص جزاكم الله خير. Oh yes, okay, you're right.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, you're right.
Yes. May call it?
Okay. All right.
It's going to get tricky. There's like, I went on Netflix and I type in Syria
Yeah.
or Somalia.
Yeah.
Of course, 95% of the shows are about Daesh. They made a whole like drama about women living under Daesh, and it's like
Really?
kind of funny.
Is it good?
I got through 5 minutes of it, but
Okay.
that lady is like turning the tea, coffee grounds,
Yeah.
and then like the Cooper police bust in and they're like, "You're out to shit, round you up, let's go." And I'm like, this is hilarious.
I mean, it's hilarious and sad. Allah Mustaan.
I don't know how much that flicks reality. But
Yeah. Allah Mustaan. I
that's
think
what we're gonna go over. Right?
we're going to go over some of them. So we're going to do it. We're going to try, inshallah, get to the hadith and nujum. I wanted to go back to a few of the hadith and kind of brush over some of those points and then continue. طيب. طيب. So the previous set of a hadith, where the Prophet ﷺ ليس من رجل ادعى لغير أبيه وهو يعلم إلا كفر. So there is not an individual except that he claims that his father is another, except that he disbelieves. When ادعى ما ليس له فليس منا. And whoever claims that something is his when it is not, then he is not from us. وَلْيَتَبَأُ مَقَدَ مِنَ النَّارِ. And an individual will take his seat in the hellfire. وَمَنْ دَعَى رَجُلٌ بِكُفْرِهِ. And an individual who calls another or claims another is not Muslim or kafir, then he is an aduwullah, he is an enemy of Allah, وَلَيْسَ كَذَلِكَ. And if he is not, إِلَّا حَارَ عَلَيْهِ, except that it will return back to one of those two. And then all of the hadith that follow it, a lot of it has to do with claiming fatherhood or claiming parentage from another. Why is that such a problem? So now, for example, if you have, and how does this work with like adoption? And is that something that would be recommended or allowed in Islam?
Would be allowed, but in this context,
Mm-hmm.
if you adopt, you know that this is your adopted son and daughter.
Okay.
Unlike
What if
claiming that your father's son.
what if he takes your name, or what if you give him your name?
I heard that's not allowed.
Huh?
I heard that's not allowed.
It's not allowed. Okay. Let's talk about it. Over here, the Prophet ﷺ, he's saying that whoever claims someone is his father knowingly, like this person is not my father, then he is what? This is disbelief. And over here, disbelief, what is he talking about? Like a person leaves Islam? Huh? No, right? That's not what's intended here. And how do we know that? Sure, it's a type of lying, but what is it? But here the Prophet ﷺ, and we had said before, right? All of these previous hadith that Imam Muslim is bringing, when he says that something is, when the Prophet ﷺ said something is kufr, or he says something is nifaq, what does he mean by that? what is the reason for him to even express something in that way? Right, to express the gravity of it, like to show, like, man, this is a major problem. This is a major issue. It's not just like regular lying. Right? This isn't just like lying, or what we call white lies or small lies or whatever the case might be. This is something major. Why? Why this specifically? Yeah.
It's like maybe identity theft. Or
Okay. Well, identity theft is you actually take someone else's identity, right? So it a little bit, but go ahead. No, expand on it.
Being from a different,
Mhm.
because someone's lineage is big back then, or what tribe you might be.
Sure.
Then it might be associated with certain protections or like your legal status.
So
kind of like fraud.
Can we argue today that it's not as important because we don't carry the same tribal Arab tendencies or customs or cultures?
That might be the argument.
It might be an argument?
Yeah, I feel like trying to like take a passport.
Huh.
This is because the Prophet ﷺ used to like value kinship, and so
Mhm.
we can't really like cut ties with people.
Okay, so over here, the tie is actually not being cut. He's actually establishing one, right? When I say so and so is my father, right? Like I'm building a relationship there, right? Like I'm literally building a relationship. What else? Are there any Shari'i consequences to this?
Inheritance.
Huh? Right, inheritance. You have inheritance issues. What else?
Yeah. And like, who's mahram?
Marriage, mahramiyya issues, right? You have all of these issues because when it comes to maintaining these bloodlines and like having these bloodlines, they have a lot of practical importance and a practical value, and they have an effect on society.
I had a commentary. So when you mentioned things about like issues with what's it called, mahramiyya?
Yeah.
Because the widespread of like people being donors and giving their sperm and people having children, that causes a lot of issues like with people not knowing who their father is and perhaps falling into.
Sure. I mean, so the thing is, like, and we can touch on that. I don't mind having that discussion, but this issue of like sperm banks, egg donation, all of that, we can definitely talk about that because it's not very different from some of the discussions here and what we're talking about here. But let's shelve that for a minute and we'll come back to it. Because this is straight lying, right? This causes more confusion in society in the sense that a person actually might not know who his father is, right? Or a person might not know who their mother is, like if it's an egg donor. And which brings up issues of surrogacy as well. How do we deal with surrogacy in Islam? If I had, and I'll bring up a case. Like I said, I want to shelve the discussion. Not that I don't want to get to it, but I want to kind of solve this on why the Prophet ﷺ made it such a big deal. And a lot of it has to do with these things. Like here, how do you know who if people just start making these claims that I'm related to so-and-so, or this is this person, or I'm this person's son, all of a sudden, anybody who's on their deathbed, what's going to happen? That's my father.
That is my grandpa.
Right? Huh? Especially if he's rich, right? Yeah. So all of a sudden, you're going to have like 1,200 people claiming that this person, and you're going to destroy inheritance, right? You're going to destroy, and not just that, you're going to destroy people's trustworthiness, right? If you look back, a lot of these things that the Prophet ﷺ talked about, when he talked about zina, and when he talked about stealing, right? He didn't talk about lust, he spoke about stealing. And he also, what was the third that he had mentioned?
Previous ones?
Yeah, the previous ones. Alcohol, right? Drinking alcohol. What was the relationship between the three? That those brought societal harms, right? Very clearly, those brought societal harms. And why is this such a big deal? Same reason. Same reason. Because of the societal harm that it brings. That when people just start making claims, right? And because if basically I'm laying claim to property that is not mine, the moment that I say and the moment that I claim that this individual is my father, like what is going to stop me from walking into a house and being like, oh well, this is my home, right? Or walk into the masjid and say, oh well, actually I bought this land, right? This is mine. All of you need to leave. I'm going to pray in here alone, right? Like, it's like people can just make claims. People can just make claims. There has to be accountability. There has to be a way to go back and to check these things. Otherwise, this society and community cannot function. They just can't. It's not possible. There has to be a level of trust. And if you look at a lot of these things, they fundamentally break what? Trust. And the moment trust is broken, that can be in a relationship, it can be in a community, it can be society, whatever the case might be. Even if we look like in the political landscape, why are a lot of our institutions today, like before these institutions they've always existed, but why is it that the institutions are now starting to break down?
There's no trust
Because people no longer trust them, right? So you have to trust the justice system in order to feel what? In order to feel safe and in order to feel that you can hold people accountable. You have to trust the voting system in order to trust it and say, okay, the people we're voting for, and then these numbers are actual representations of the people who are going to the polling stations. So this idea of trust is something that's extremely fundamental. And the Prophet ﷺ, he's emphasizing it time and time and time and time and time again. You know, a lot of this, like, even, is it Kitab al-Iman, right? Like, have we talked about any specific actions here? Like, not really, right? A lot of it is just like our attitude toward certain things, like how we deal and how we interact with others. And it's not dissimilar on how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala deals with a lot of these concepts in the Quran, right? It's not just like, all right, you need to stand like this, and you need to walk like this, and you need to carry yourself like this, and you need to do this, and you need to do that. It's not full of all of these rulings and all of these ahkam. A lot of it is like, okay, well, how do we need to function, and how do we need to deal as a Muslim society? And how do we need to deal as a Muslim community? So now going back to like this is a secondary problem, a secondary issue, right? So now that we have sperm banks, we have egg banks, right? There are surrogacy. How have the scholars dealt with these issues? So is surrogacy allowed in Islam? Is it permissible for a couple that is unable to have a child to donate their sperm and their egg to another to carry that baby?
If you marry her.
Huh?
You marry her first.
So I received a phone call, and this woman said that I want my husband to marry this woman to carry our child, and I don't want him to be intimate with her.
Oh, but the other person's egg though, not.
It would be her egg.
Oh, another person.
No, it would be her. It would be her egg, her husband's sperm, and this woman would be the one that's.
That's two.
Yes.
But you cannot consider the marriage.
But the other
Yes.
person's egg though, that's the part that I haven't even.
Yeah, no. So no, it's hers. Like, so it's the first wife. Like, here, we'll just do 1 and 2. It'll be easier,
Yeah,
right?
well, is it permissible?
Is it
for her to put her egg in the other?
So this is the question. Is it permissible, right? So the thing is, the sperm entering her rahim, the sperm entering her uterus, like that's not an issue as long as she is his wife. But in general, what's going to happen? In general, would that be permissible? I've yet to see, like, so surrogacy, I have yet to find a fiqh council that actually approves it. I can't say that there's a ijma' on this issue, right? It's not possible because I think we're past that age where it's easy to get like all the different Muslim groups together to agree on something. But I don't know a fiqh council that allows surrogacy at all. And part of the reason for that, and if you look at, I'm sorry? Even if she's married. Yeah, why? But this is a valid question. So I looked, a lot of it has to do with, you have a woman now who is carrying this child. Yes? Biologically not hers, but she's carrying this child. She's carried it for 9 months. It has passed through her birth canal. What is her relationship now to this child? Do you understand the problem? So that's the thing. It's like, who has more claim to the child? And the other person will be like, biologically, it's not hers. Do you understand, like, the issues that come up when you start opening doors like this? And someone might say, okay, well, how do we, then this woman who cannot have children, not all of us, like, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put biological limitations on everyone, right? I will never be the fastest runner in the world. I just won't, like, huh? I make dua. I'm not making dua hard enough, right? Like, my tawakkul game is weak, right? But, you know, there are certain physical, biological limitations that we all have. And the thing is, like, okay, well, we have a tolerance for those limitations, but sometimes we don't have a tolerance for others. Okay, so that's one issue. This issue of adoption. So does Islam allow adoption? Yeah, it does. Well, not just allow it, it actually encourages it, right? There's an encouragement of it. But is it the same way, or why is it then so many Muslims have a problem with it? With adoption? You actually have a lot of hesitancy in the Muslim community. Part of it, a lot of it has to do with the lack of understanding. Yeah. No, a lot of it has to do with the lack of understanding. But what were you going to say, Nadia?
I said, isn't there conditions to the adoption?
Sure, that's fine. I mean, but a lot of things have conditions. Are those conditions realistic or not? That's something that's definitely worth exploring. What are some of the limitations with adoption? Why are people, so if we say that, okay, many people don't know the rulings associated with it, what is it that prevents them from that? Firstly, I think that's the first question to answer, right? Right. What is that first hurdle? The first hurdle is actually, a lot of people think it's the same thing as tabanni. You guys know tabanni?
It's like this.
Huh? Which is this, right? Which is exactly what this is. But it's the reverse, right? It's not a child claiming that this is my father, but this is a father claiming that what? This is my son. And who did this? That a lot of these verses came down. The Prophet ﷺ himself, right? Because of his love for Zayd, right? He cared for him. He took care of him. Like he took him as a son, and he announced to the people that saying that this is Zayd ibn Muhammad. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He said, no, you are not the father of anyone. You are not the father of anyone. Like you have no son. So when the Prophet ﷺ was chastised by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then he had to, and a lot of this has to do with these issues, right? You don't want confusion in society on who is whose son and who is not. You know what I mean? So in that situation, what is tabanni? And here, another question to ask is, when the Prophet ﷺ started calling him Zayd ibn Haritha, like when he started being known as that, what changed between him and the Prophet ﷺ? Nothing. Nothing. That's very important. Nothing changed. Between them two.
What about the mahramiyya?
The mahramiyya stuff, like, so the thing is, I don't think the ahkam had been fully finalized by that point in terms of like hijab and whatnot. But Allahu alam, I don't know. Because this happened. Where did this happen?
Yeah, what surah is it?
Yeah, I was gonna say I should go back and check, inshallah. Or if you check, can you check?
Yeah,
But saying that, if you have this situation where, but in terms of like, there might be ahkam that might have been related to that, but in terms of the actual relationship, what happened? Yes.
Are you asking what surah about the mahramiyya?
About Zayd, the story of Zayd, where laysa aba ahadikum. Oh, sorry, I forgot to tell everyone. It was just too hot in the.
Oh, it's hot?
Yeah, man. And can you do me a favor and turn the light on, please? On. Yeah. Yes. So just the lights on this side. Yeah, there we go. Jazakallah khair. I know. So when we were talking about these rulings, basically the nature of the relationship, even though certain rulings might have changed, they didn't change between Zayd and the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. And how do we know this? He was known as Muhibb al-Nabi ﷺ, like the beloved of the Prophet ﷺ. And then when Zayd had a son, what was he known as? He was known as Muhibb ibn Muhibb. Like he was known as the beloved, the son of the beloved. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So it's not necessary many times to formalize particular relationships to show what? To show love. Right? It's not necessary to formalize those relationships. And if that is the case as such, because even like we said, the nature didn't change, only that certain rulings changed. So even if we assume, like hijab and all of these things, the moment the Prophet ﷺ claimed him as a son, then at that point we could say, all right, well, all of the rulings of hijab were lifted until Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed that you're not his father. And then at that point, we would say that, but nothing else in terms of the Prophet ﷺ loving him, keeping him in proximity, keeping him alone, appointing him for positions, like none of that stuff really changed. So, and that's important. Why is that important? Because it helps give us an idea of what adoption actually looks like in Islam. So, what does adoption look like in Islam? This is just not like blocking in place.
But you tell us that you're not your biological father.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Right. So it's important. It's important for the child to know what. Right. They should know their biological parents, or they should know their heritage, right? Because it's something that they need to be proud of on their own. It's the model within an Islamic system. It's closer to like guardianship, right? So, like like a legal guardian, because a legal guardian is I'm still responsible for this child, but the child is not actually, it's not actually my son or daughter. Yes.
Can you touch on this? But did you talk about like mahramiyya under adoption?
Yeah, I mean, so the classical way that a lot of Imam, Du'at, scholars, they deal with it is they say what? You take, huh? Yeah, they take Aisha's method, right? Like, so that's some, right? The vast majority of them agree that there is some form of rida for if the child is small, right? If the mushkila قبل الفطام, like in that time is very small, right?
2 years.
It's even less. It's even less than that, because you're talking about fitam is when the child actually starts eating hard foods, right? So it's like, okay, well, when the child is only on milk, and that's what, the first 6 months. It's a very limited time frame. Like, what do you do with children who are older than that? Madhab Aisha? Right? Allah Ustad. That's one step further. Yeah, it's a very special one. So, if you have this situation now, how do you deal with it? It's up to the family, right? Is every one of us responsible of being a guardian? No, right? We're not. Ironically, or I won't say ironically, but it's actually very sad. Do you guys know in which community adoption is actually the highest? Huh? Yes, the homosexual community. So the homosexual community, their adoption rates are like 3%. And you guys know what like general adoption rates are? 1 or less than 1.
They can't make babies, so it's
I understand. No, I get it. I understand.
Yeah.
But my point is like, all right, well, these people are quick to adopt, and the thing is like, all right, well, you can't have children anymore. Is there an age, or is there a point that couples also can't have children? Right, and they're still functional.
Less likely.
Right, you know what I mean, like, or less likely. And they're still relatively functional, healthy couples, but they still choose not to engage. And they're even right now in Virginia. Do you guys know how many Muslim foster parents there are? Muslim foster parents, it's like 1. That's like 1, and that's in Loudoun. No, it's not even in Fairfax. In Virginia, yeah.
In Virginia?
In Virginia. That is, I know of 1.
In the whole state. It's in Surah Ahzab, according to
Okay.
Tafsir ibn Kathir.
Okay.
Okay.
She needs her space. She needs her personal space.
Away from all of us, especially me.
So what about the opposite? So an individual who claims that this is not my child, but that is their child.
Yeah. So the thing is, that's a very good question. Why didn't the Prophet ﷺ mention that? If somebody negates their parentage. But even if a person negates their parentage, they're still doing what? They still have to claim it. So like they didn't, it wasn't like they didn't just fall on the earth. Does that make sense? Yeah. So even if a person negates parentage, that means that if I'm negating one, it means I have to what? Claim another.
Or were you talking about the opposite? The parent doesn't claim the kid.
Yeah. No, that's what he's saying. He's saying like, so if a father negates, says, this is not my child, right? Oh no, you're right. That's a different situation. So.
Because you're saying the child has to claim somebody.
Yeah. No, the child has to claim someone, but a father doesn't have to, right? So that would be that. In what situations would those apply? I guess situations where you have li'an, because there are legal consequences to that.
Yes.
If I say that this child is not mine, what have I now accused the mother of? I've accused the mother of zina, and then this would go to court as a li'an case.
From the accusation of zina.
No, sure. Like so the thing is, what would happen? But I'm saying the point I'm making is that there are legal consequences, right? The moment that I negate parentage, and that those legal consequences could work for me, right? Or they could work against me, right? But the thing is, because there's a claim that is being laid, that right on an individual, because the Prophet ﷺ, he said, "Al-bayyina al-mudda'i wal-yamin ala man ankar," right? So basically, the one who's making a claim, the responsibility falls on them, right? So if I make a claim, I'm responsible to bring evidence. I can't say, oh, this iPad is mine, right? I say this iPad is mine. Now you, Uthman, prove it, right? That's not how an Islamic court system works, right? And even in American courts, it doesn't work like that. But Islamically, if I'm the one that makes a claim, I have to be the one now to bring the receipts. I have to prove that I went to the store, right? And I have to basically bring all of the proof that I'm the one that do that. All Uthman has to do is what? No, you say no, right? No, it's not yours. And that's all he has to do, right? Because as the plaintiff has to bring the receipts. The defendant, all they have to do is defend themselves and negate. So this is generally the dynamic in an Islamic court. So the same thing would apply there, right? The person who denies their parentage, what would be the logical next step? They'd have to go to court, right? They would go to court, and then after that, a decision would be made. The strongest way that we determine that is how? How do I determine parentage?
The testimony.
Huh?
Testimony.
DNA. Like, yeah, man. In this day and age, man, you don't need to go through all that. Huh? Back then, so they would have people who would come in who were like, what is it called? The people who study lineage? Yeah. They're people who specialize in lineage. So basically what they do is they would be like, okay, well, people from this tribe, these are the major features.
They really do that?
Yeah, no, I'm serious. What else are you going to do? Like, what else are you going to do? So basically you would be like, okay, these are the major features within this tribe, right? You know what I mean? Like they have prominent noses, or they have like, sharp eyebrows, or they have like, or they tend to have tall statures, and they would use secondary proofs. The problem is with secondary proofs, you can never make you can never make a concrete ruling, and that was something that was generally understood. But in general, like I said, when it comes to qada is a little bit different. When you talk about judiciary and how rules are actually applied, it's a little bit different, and there's a lot of secondary evidences before a judge can actually make a ruling. Is there anything else related to this discussion that you guys want to discuss?
We're still on adoption?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I think I might have missed this part, but you talked about mahramiyah.
Yeah.
You said from a certain age when they're like a little kid.
Yeah.
They're considered your mahram?
Yeah. How is mahramiyah established? Mahramiyah in Islam is established only through three ways, right? Through blood, through breastfeeding, and through marriage, right? These are the only three ways. I guess no, you can do slavery too. Yeah.
But that's like a temporary.
But that's a temporary thing, yeah. But anyway, those are the ways. Through, I mean, even marriage is temporary, right? So.
No, but the
yeah.
mahramiyah is permanent for the mother who you marry.
Yes, correct.
Right.
So for example, through blood is easy, right? That's something that's always fixed. That's something that's always going to be unchanged. When it comes to breastfeeding, how does that work?
A lot of.
Yeah.
So if you breastfeed they automatically become your mahram?
Yeah, depending on the method, right? So I think the Malikis, they say rida wahida, right? They just say one. Yeah, it's like one or two. Hanabila, they say five. Yeah, like 5 different times. There's different opinions, but basically it is through breast milk, right? That is the way that it's done. And basically for that child now, all of the blood relations of the mother are his or her mahram. The other way, through marriage. How does it work through marriage? Marriage is going obviously between the husband and the wife, right? That's established, and which relations also.
No, but isn't it when you marry, the spouse is not your mahram?
Mm-hmm.
No, but
They're not, but
mother.
Yeah.
not the spouse. Spouse is not your mahram.
What is he? Or what is she?
The mahram is the one that you can't marry. So you can't
Actually,
marry your wife.
You can't marry her again, though.
Hence you're married.
Is that what you convinced him?
It would be their,
I was just kidding.
their aunts, their uncles.
Yeah, yeah. So basically, if right, so with the husband and the wife, it's obviously the children. Like, what other relations are affected?
Going up.
Right, we're going up. So any of the parents or the
But
grandparents.
also the uncles, right?
No.
No?
Right, it's basically it's this, right? It's limited to the parents and grandparents and the children and the grandchildren. It doesn't extend into other ones, but yeah. Okay. Did I answer your question? I don't even remember what the question was though.
It's okay.
Yeah.
I said something about adoption and like.
Oh yeah. So, no, okay, yeah. So that's what it was. This is how it's passed. Now the question is like, okay, well, can I adopt someone who's outside of those? Right. Obviously, not every, marriage is not an option, and for some children they've passed the age of fitlam and they can't be fed. So what other options are there? There aren't. But does it mean now that this child cannot be raised in my home? And when do these issues of mahramiyah actually start? Once the child is baligh, right? That's when there's a hard line. Yeah, when the child hits puberty, right? So when the child hits puberty, that's where you have a hard line. Signs of puberty are not like that's not a definitive line. Like actual puberty is where the definitive line comes in. In the madhahib, there's an event, right? For the girls, it's her period, and for the guys, it's their wet dream, or age, right? Whichever of the two come first, right? Huh? That's
Technically.
okay.
That's what they
Technically,
say in the books.
yeah, sure. No, Jazakallah khair.
I heard that there's
Yeah.
another condition for puberty.
I'm sorry.
I heard that there's another condition for puberty outside of. Like,
We just mentioned it.
Oh, like
Pregnancy. Yeah.
Oh, I wasn't
No.
mentioning that. I was
Oh.
mentioning something else.
What was that?
I'm not sure if this is true, but I heard like this is too descriptive, but pubic hair is like that.
Those are all signs, right? So like like budding, for example, those are signs, but it's not a definitive line. Hairs, those are signs. Cracking a voice, right? Facial hair for guys. These are all secondary signs, but they're not definitive. They're not definitive. So saying that, like, is there a way to do it? Right? If a person has the ability to separate their home in a way and set up their home in a way where this is done, and keeping in mind, like, hey, listen, this is what's going to happen. Right? And it's unavoidable. So even if you adopt a girl, eventually she's going to have to start wearing hijab, right? Or if you adopt a boy, eventually, like, your family is going to have to start taking hijab, right? But the thing is, like, there are some people who are ready for that, and they're okay with that. They have their houses set up in a way where there's not right, there's not too much interaction, right? And some of those things can be controlled. Again, how invested is a person in this? And then that's what it really boils down to. Like, as a couple, how invested is the couple in adopting this child, and how many concessions are they willing to make? And that's all it boils down to. There are a lot of things that we do in our home. There are a lot of concessions that we all make in our homes. Is this one of those things that we're willing to make concessions in? If the answer is no, then don't adopt, right? If the answer is like, yeah, it is something I'm willing to do, then you can adopt. The other option we have in America is fostering. So fostering, basically what happens is that the child is the ward of the state. Like, the state is responsible for the child, meaning that, like, so there's Medicare, they give like a little bit of stipend to the parents, and you are just the custodian for however much time is required. I think that's also a feasible option for many parents, because adoption's expensive. Like, a lot of people don't know that. It's very expensive. It's not. It costs a lot of money. It's like things like $25,000 or something. Yes. Yeah.
Some people, they are gifted to humanity, to help the child.
Yeah.
That necessity, they don't want children, but they see a children who need it.
Yeah.
And they adapt.
Mhm.
So when they teach, the boy, when he reach the age
Mhm.
where he's done your murder,
Mhm.
so how do you deal with this, with the Sharia, that, for example, this grown adult can
No, like I said, like, you have to make accommodations. Like, everybody has to make accommodations in their home. I think my wife showed me a video of, like, Umar Sulaiman. He was saying, like, the mahramiyya is not a problem, and, like, because of the need of the time. I'm not really sure. I have to go back and double check, because it didn't really sit well with me. But yeah, accommodations have to be made. Accommodations have to be made. And again, like, this is for every family to decide on their own. Am I willing to make these accommodations or not? If you are, alhamdulillah, khair wa ni'mah, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward them. But because it's not, like, is it a communal obligation? Yes. Is it my personal obligation? No. I think that was it. The next set of a hadith, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he says, "La tarji'u ba'di kuffara yadru ba'dukum riqab ba'd." He said, don't go back to disbelief, striking the necks of one another. What is he sallallahu alaihi wasallam, or what is the message that he's giving?
Is that like a metaphor? Don't fight.
Don't fight. Yeah, don't fight. Yeah. And just because I'm not there, it doesn't mean what? Right, or the religion has stopped, or also it means that you don't need to run to me for what? Every little thing. That just because I'm not here, you should still be able to what? Navigate. You should still be able to navigate. You should still be able to figure things out. Like, I've already given you the guidelines, right? I've given you the rules. I've given you the guidelines. You should be able to navigate and figure these things out on your own. There's no reason that you start fighting, meaning that issues of deen are not what? They're not worth fighting for. And what are the things that are clear, or what are the things that you do fight over? The major things, like the pillars, right? These things are established. Muharramat al-mujma' alayha. That all of the things that are prohibited, that all of the entire ummah agrees upon. Right? These are things that are very clear, like imaniyat, all of the 6 pillars of iman. But anything other than those, why? There's give and take. You can agree, you can disagree, it's okay, there's room. Al-Islam fihi wasa. There's room for that. There's no reason for you to fight. And if you disagree, guess what? It's okay. Like that can disagreeing be a solution?
Yes.
Absolutely. And it's a very reasonable solution. Like I don't need you to agree with me. And like it's not necessary that we agree on everything. And I always found it amazing when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He says innamal mu'minuna ikhwa, I was like, and you for those of you who have brothers, it's like, what is one thing that we do with our brothers a lot? We fight, right? Like we fight a lot. And I always found that metaphor to be amazing. I was like, man, it's like you fight a lot with your brothers. And where is it important though? That brotherhood, where does it usually show up? Huh? Not when I'm fighting him. No, not even after. I want you guys to really think about it. When someone else is fighting him. Right? I could just have finished beating up my brother. Right? I could just have finished. In the moment someone else comes in and tries to do, what happens? He gets jumped by both of us. In this idea of bringing nusra and bringing victory to your brother, right? Your Muslim brother, meaning that regardless of my relationship to him, I cannot allow him to be taken advantage of. Right? Regardless of my relationship, regardless of how bad my relationship is with him. Does it mean I need to be his best friend? No. There are some friends who we might have a closer relationship than our blood brothers, yes?
Yes.
There's nothing wrong with that. That's fine. This is completely reasonable. But that's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He didn't come to define the nature of those relationships, right? How close or how far that relationship might be. There might be some siblings that we have that we talk to every day. There might be some siblings that we have that we talk to once a month. There might be siblings that we have we only talk to on Eid. Right, even if that. There might be some siblings that the only time we see them is when they go to get married. Everybody is different, and there's nothing wrong with those. And then I might have friends that I see every week. The nature of those relationships, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't come here to define them. Unlike, the Prophet ﷺ said you have to visit your mother once a week, right? Right? Or the Prophet ﷺ said to keep in contact. The only thing he prohibited what? He said he prohibited abandonment. Right? He said don't abandon your brother for more than 3 days. And what does abandoning mean? I didn't send him a text message, right? No, abandoning means that I'm making an active effort to what? To avoid him. Right? That's what abandonment means. But there are many friends, family members, like we don't talk for long periods at a time. That doesn't make it wrong. Right? That doesn't make it wrong. What is wrong is when we abandon them, especially in times of need. Especially in times of need. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us. Yes? The adopted children? No. So in Islam, there are 2 ways for money to be passed from the deceased to the living. The one way is mirath, one way is irth, right? Inheritance. What is the second way? Wasiyah, which is like a gift. And the Prophet ﷺ, how much of our wealth did he allow to be a wasiyah? 1/3, up to 1/3. 1/3 was the maximum limit. Many of the scholars have actually said that it's better to leave 1/5. 1/5, 20%. Because it's not 1/3, because the Prophet ﷺ said, "Thuluth wa thuluth kathir." He said 1/3 is a lot. So many scholars, they say, if you're going to leave a bequest, if you're going to leave a gift, then leave 20%. And I can give that to anyone. I can leave it to an institution, I can leave it to a person. The only people I cannot give that wasiyah to is who? Right, people who are eligible for inheritance, except for a few exceptional cases. Those exceptional cases, if I have a child with like special needs, for example. Those are exceptional cases. But in general, the only people I can't give is to the people who are eligible to inherit, because the Prophet ﷺ said, "La wasiyati li warith." The next set of a hadith had to do with a slave running away from his master. But he's a slave. How is that fair? The Prophet ﷺ said, that's أيما عبد أبق من مواليه فقد كفر. حتى يرجع إليه. He says that any slave that runs away from his master, then he has committed kufr until he returns to his master. No, أيما عبد أبق فقد برئت منه الذمة إذا أبق العبد لم تقبل له الصلاة. That his prayer is not accepted. How do we deal with these hadith? It's almost like the Prophet is promoting slavery. Huh? Bring it back? So what is this? I guess here, there's a few key questions here. How is the Prophet ﷺ portraying slavery here? Kind of neutral, right? I wouldn't say, is he encouraging slavery?
Well, he's encouraging property rights.
Okay. طيب. But what does this say? What is the Prophet ﷺ telling a slave here? He's saying, remain with your master. Why is he telling him that? Right, essentially that's what he's saying. Right, don't run away from your master, stay with your master. Why?
To not cause slave rebellion, I guess?
Well, remember, what is the connection with all these hadith that the Prophet ﷺ is talking about it being disbelief?
General societal safety.
Right, it's safety is because the thing is, the slave, okay, even if he runs away, what's going to happen? You're going to utilize resources or state resources to what? To capture and retrieve him. And what's going to happen when he's retrieved? He's not going to be dealt with in a good way.
It's a preventative.
It's right, for sure.
I guess that's fair.
Oh, well, not just that. Like, the Prophet ﷺ is saying, listen, be patient in your slavery. Why?
Allow for you.
Huh?
Allow for you.
Okay. I'm sorry?
There's a way.
Right. Number one, is there's a better way. Right? Don't feel that you are what? Trapped. Don't feel you're trapped. What? Because there's a better way. And in Islam came with a unique system, which is what?
You can buy it.
Right? You could buy yourself out. Right? You can buy your own freedom. It came up with the mukataba system, huh?
And people can free you like
Or someone can free you like as a kafar. Right. So don't do this because there are better ways. And you're causing hardship because there are some people where did they put their money? They would actually, one of the ways they would store their wealth is through what? Through slaves. Through slaves. So there is wealth that is tied to this person. Right? There's wealth that's tied to this person. And this is you're going to cause a problem for your master. And some people, well, why should I have mercy on the master? Right? How is that something that's fair? Did Islam invent slavery? No. Right? It came to what? It came to bring justice to existing systems. Right? It came to bring justice to existing systems. And when it came to this issue of slavery, basically the Prophet ﷺ is also telling them on a spiritual level, like, yes, in this world, there are better ways for you to get out of that slavery. But also spiritually what?
Spiritually, it's better to stay.
Okay, spiritually it's better to stay. That's one aspect of it. But another aspect of it is like, spiritually, this is not a preventative measure for you. Right? You being a slave is not going to stop you from being what? Close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? This is a big thing. That you have people who were slaves who went on to become scholars themselves. Like, so this idea of movement within the religious sphere or within the social sphere, and even in some cases, even within the political sphere, it was not actually limiting to many slaves. Were there some slaves who were taken advantage of? Yes, absolutely. Were there slaves who were abused? Absolutely. You know what I mean? But that's a problem in application, not in the system itself. Moving on to the next hadith. Any questions on this? I know it's a bit of a touchy topic. Oh, so everybody's scared. Good. قال المصنف رحمه الله تعالى قال حدثنا يحيى بن يحيى قال قرأت على مالك عن صالح بن كيسان عن عبيد الله. Yes.
I was going to add, I liked your point about the resources to the society to try and correct it.
Mm-hmm.
So they did a study recently, and they say like the piracy that was coming out of Somalia cost the world global trade
Yeah.
more than the money that they got. That makes sense. It was like a net
Yeah, yeah.
negative
It was a net negative. Yeah, yeah.
on trade.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. Because the thing is, there are different ways that society is harmed. Like, let me think of a good example. Doing business in cash. Doing business in cash. What do you guys think about that? It's beautiful, right?
No tax.
There's no taxes. But does it cause a harm to society?
Arguable.
Arguable, right? It's debatable,
Yeah.
for sure. What would a counter argument be on why more people should pay taxes? Not more taxes, right? Just more people should buy in. Like if I have a business, then why am I not reporting properly? If everybody reported accordingly, how would that change anything?
Yeah, so there wouldn't be like monopolies.
Okay. Well, I mean, monopoly is really the government's job to break up monopolies. As an individual, it's tough. The only thing that the government can do is kind of not intrude on the market because it's challenging, right? It's challenging because there are some big players who will come in and they'll just completely dominate the market.
But the government will have the money.
Government will have more money. It doesn't mean that they're going to use it well, right? But that's the second layer of accountability that comes back to the voters, right? Are they holding their elected officials accountable? So yes, I agree. Hey, what is the other, on the personal level, is there a problem?
Yeah, but I want more money.
Huh? No. I'm saying, like, if I never paid taxes, I did everything cash. Is there any repercussions?
Advantage of
Uh-huh.
things that other people's taxes pay by not contributing to that.
You're not following the law.
Okay. No, I mean, someone might respond and be like, okay, well, there are tax loopholes. And let's say I take advantage of those tax loopholes, which is great, right? Because they're legal. Yeah. But, go ahead.
Pay taxes in some way, shape, or form,
Sure.
not evading it. Because
Yeah. Like, I'm basically utilizing the rules that they've put in place.
Yes.
Right? Okay. But there's still a contribution. Does it ever come back to bite someone in the butt or no?
Not
Only when they get caught.
Yeah, not paying taxes. All right, when you get caught, but in the future, is there anything that happens?
Oh, well, if you get robbed,
You get robbed?
you don't have.
Oh, and you don't have a record, right?
financial
Okay,
record.
if you don't have a financial record.
Because
Uh-huh.
you want to buy a car, you want to buy a house.
Yeah.
Credit.
Yeah, exactly. You don't have that track
Yeah.
record.
You know what I'm saying? Like, my
Money, but
I was like, my credit score is 0 and I'm still pulling the Rangers up.
Well, it will be limited for some transactions, not all transactions can be cash.
Right. So I mean,
Large scale.
actually, a lot of it has to, like, when an individual retires, what happens? And they haven't contributed anything.
Yeah, that's just security. Right, they haven't paid in, so they don't get it.
There's no buy-in, so there's no
What if you
payout.
just save your money in it?
That's fine. Unfortunately, like, people have different mindsets. So within immigrant communities, what tends to happen with their cash?
They spend it, yeah.
Spend it on fancy things.
No, not always. They tend to buy homes
Oh, home
it-
back home, yeah.
back home. Now, so then their money gets tied up overseas. And then they refuse to sell, and they're getting limited money over here because there comes an age where you can't. It becomes difficult, right? Especially if you're just constantly doing a lot of labor cash work. What is the advantage of me not doing that? So, for example, if I'm a taxi driver and I'm like, okay, no, I'm gonna start reporting. What benefit does that person get?
Well, he might not even have to pay taxes.
That's the first thing, right? If he's reporting everything, he might not even reach a point where he has to pay those taxes. What is another thing? Another benefit is, like, a lot of people don't realize when we are part of the system, it becomes easier to scale. Right? It becomes a lot easier to scale. Instead of me just worrying about these individual cash transactions that I have, if I actually start reporting it, I can turn it into a business and I can make that business larger. So while those individual transactions I'm not getting as much, I do have the ability to scale that and make 10 times more than I was making in those individual transactions. And now that I have money, it becomes easier to what? To pay people to hide my money, right? And I can take advantage of those tax loopholes. So it's important to understand, like, yeah, there are pros and cons to everything, and I'm not an advocate of breaking the law, obviously, but there are legal loopholes, And if there is a way to take advantage of those, I would rather people take advantage of those legal loopholes than trying to collect everything on cash. قال حدثني يحيى بن يحيى قال قرأت على مالك عن صالح بن كيسان عن عبيد الله بن عبد الله بن عتبة عن زيد بن خالد الجهني قال صلى بنا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم صلاة الصبح بالحديبية في إثر السماء كانت من الليل فلما انصرف أقبل على الناس فقال هل تدرون ماذا قال ربكم. So over here the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم, he led them in subh prayer, in the Fajr prayer in Hudaybiyah, and there was a star in the sky, and he sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he turned to them and he said, do you know what your Lord said? قالوا الله ورسوله أعلم, that Allah and His Messenger know best. قال أصبح من عبادي مؤمن بي وكافر فأما من قال مطرنا بفضل الله ورحمته فذلك مؤمن بي كافر بالكوكب وأما من قال مطرنا بنو كذا وكذا فذلك كافر بي مؤمن بالكوكب. So he said that there is an individual that woke up as a believer, believing in me, and another that disbelieved. He says, as for the one that said that it rained because of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's blessing and His mercy, then he is a believer in me, and he disbelieved in the stars. Or the kawkab is it's like a heavenly body, right? That's what a kawkab actually is. وَأَمَّا مَنْ قَالَ, and as for the one who said مُطِرْنَا بِنَوْ كَذَا وَكَذَا, he said it rained because of such and such star, فَذَلِكَ كَافِرٌ بِي مُؤْمِنٌ بِالْكَوْكَبِ, that then he has disbelieved in me and he has believed in the kawkab, he has believed in the star. طيب. So what is the Prophet ﷺ talking about here? What is the cultural context to this? And what is this? Does this give us some insight in how they viewed the role of stars? Right, astrology could be a part of it. In what sense?
Ascribe the power to the stars and find it to whatever they're like, oh, certain things are happening because of these
Okay.
phenomena.
طيب ماشي. Okay. And most of the scholars, they say that this type of belief is what? Yeah, this is shirk, this is kufr, without doubt. And this is هذا قول جماهير العلماء ومنهم الإمام الشافعي. But he says, what about the individual that believes that it is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that causes it to rain, but these stars are a sign for a change in the season? Do you take these as signs?
Yes.
Right, you take these as signs. We do something similar to that, like meteorologists.
Or science.
Huh?
In general.
I'm saying, I agree.
If I work out, my muscles will grow. Inshallah, it's not kufr.
Yeah. It depends. Which weight did you see? So here, considering this, right, an individual who believes that it is Allah that caused it, and this is just a sign of that, there's ikhtilaf on whether this is makruh or not. Some of them say it's not a big deal at all. And some of them, they say it's makruh. Why would they say it's makruh?
Because they mentioned other than Allah. So they mention Allah with.
Less so.
Less so?
Yeah.
May I have the respect for the hadith?
Okay. We're getting close. Meaning what? That the Prophet ﷺ, he said this, right? He said, don't say this because it is disbelief.
Yeah.
So, because the Prophet ﷺ said that, what is he warning from? We said that this practice was one that what? Huh?
Yeah, it sounds like he might be warning against this whole system of going to soothsayers, like people who are selling the secret to get to Allah's blessing. Like, sounds like that. It's almost implied there.
Yani,
So it's trying,
possibly.
so it's trying to deprive that system by letting us know.
Sure.
Yeah.
I can see that. But another issue, another problem that I feel here is that it's too close to how the Jahili pagans used to speak. Right. So how the pagan Arabs used to speak and how they used to address these situations, it's too what? It's too similar. It sounds too similar to that, and this is why many of the scholars say it is makruh. This is why many of the scholars say that it's disliked. But because if a person has the right belief, just like Uthman said, what's the big deal? But it's not a big deal to us. Why is it not a big deal to us? Because nobody believes what? That stars make it rain. Right? It's not really a thing anymore that people believe that stars make it rain. So, but at that time, these people are still new to Islam, right? And they had just come from that culture. Yes.
It reminds me how in the ayah, the meaning is can be translated as like, don't say three is one.
Yeah.
It's kind of like it doesn't approach the reality of that. Just don't say it.
Yeah. Ah. Yeah, absolutely. Like, don't play semantics.
Yeah.
Like, don't even play semantics, or don't even say it because this is what they say and what they claim.
Yeah, or even
Yeah.
to Christians who will convert. Like,
Yep.
they might still have some understanding that they like, but it's better not to vocalize it. It can be.
No, absolutely. A no, Ibn Salah, he mentions that no is actually a falling star. He says no is like a falling star, meaning that when they would see the falling star, they would say what? That it's about to rain. It's about to rain. So, kind of. I mean, pagans, bro. You can't really.
Well, I mean, certain meteor showers are associated with different times, and that could be the rain.
Sure. No, it's not uncommon, right? So, I don't. Again, yeah. No, I'll guide you. But you're right. Like sometimes there are meteorological occurrences that happen, and they can indicate a change in the season. قال حدثني حرملة ابن يحيى وعمر ابن سواد العامري ومحمد بن سلمة المرادي قال المرادي حدثنا عبد الله بن وهب عن يونس وقال الآخران أخبرنا ابن وهب أخبرني يونس عن ابن شهاب عن عبيد الله بن عبد الله بن عتبة أن أبو هريرة قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم Abu Huraira said that the Messenger of Allah صلى الله عليه وسلم said ألم تروا إلى ما قال ربكم عز وجل, have you not seen or have you not looked toward what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said? And he's referring to the ayah, right? He's referring to the ayah here. لا أقسم بالنواقي النجوم. And don't swear by the stations of the stars. قال ما أنعمت على عبادي من نعمة إلا أصبح فريق منهم بها كافرين يقولون الكوكب وبالكوكب. So he says that I have not continued to bless my slaves with different blessings, except that some of them wake up disbelieving by saying that because of the star or by the star such and such happened. قال وحدثني محمد بن سلمة المرادي قال حدثنا عبد الله بن وهب عن عمرو بن الحارث حاب تحويل الإسناد وحدثني عمرو بن السواد قال أخبرنا عبد الله بن وهب قال حدثنا عمرو بن الحارث أن أبا يونس مولى أبي هريرة حدثه عن أبي هريرة عن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. Also again on Abu Huraira, he mentions that the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم said ما أنزل الله من السماء من بركة إلا أصبح فريق من الناس بها كافرين. He says that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not descend a blessing on a group of people except that some of them disbelieve. ينزل الله الغيث فيقولون الكوكب كذا وكذا. So whenever it rains, they would say that it was this star that caused such and such. وفي حديث مرادي بكوكب كذا كذا, or because of this particular star. Because we'll take this last hadith and we'll end here, inshallah. We'll spend more time discussing it next time. قال حدثنا عباس بن عبد العظيم العنبري قال حدثنا النضر ابن محمد قال حدثنا إكرمة وهو ابن عمار قال حدثنا أبو زميل قال حدثني ابن عباس قال مطر الناس على عهد النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم فقال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. So Ibn Abbas, he said that it rained during the time of the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم. So the Messenger of Allah صلى الله عليه وسلم said أصبح من الناس شاكر ومنهم كافر, that some of the people awoke today, and some of them were thankful, and some of them were thankless or kafir. قالوا هذه رحمة الله, that this is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's mercy. وقال بعضهم, and some of them said لقد صدق أنه كذا وكذا, that it is the falling of such and star has brought this about. قال فنزلت هذه الآية, so this verse was revealed. فلا أقسم بمواقع النجوم, do not swear by the stations of the stars. حتى بلغ, to the end of the ayah. وتجعلون رزقكم أنكم تكذبون, that and this you believe that your rizq is placed in these things, but you disbelieve in that. So like I said, we'll spend some more time with this next time بإذن الله تعالى. والله أعلم وصلى الله على خير خلق نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. And عيدكم مبارك inshallah. Everybody knows about the Eid prayers? Huh? Yeah, it's gonna, like every hour, 7, 8, 9, 10. Like I think, then it starts. Then it changes a little. It's like 10:15, 11:15, something like that.
Which one are you doing?
I am doing the 9 a.m. So if you're not there by 9:05.
8:55.
8:55.
Oh, you'll do it quick? I like that. 1 year for Eid. I came like 9. I started like 8:55.
No, I didn't.
No. Yeah.
Astaghfirullah. I started at 8:59.
Okay, that's
Yeah. The one brother actually complained. He's like, "Man, it's not good enough to come on time for your khutbah. You have to be there early, otherwise you'll miss it."